Hi, welcome back to Grains and Small Places. And we have a lot of travel days coming up, so I'm going to try to prepare to have some fresh milled flour, whole grain foods for us on our travel days so we can at least get some of that incorporated into our diet. On travel days, sometimes we do have to hit up some different food places that we might not want to hit up, but sometimes we have few options. So I'm going to try and get some of that stuff pre-made for us. I've made some bread and muffins and things like that, but today I'm going to make some pizza dough. This is our favorite pizza dough, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And it's pretty simple, very few ingredients, and it makes a nice, soft, chewy pizza dough, not like a super hard cardboard crisp like some of the other recipes that I've tried in the past. So I want to go ahead and share this recipe with you, and I will put a link in the description below for the printable recipe if you're interested in that over on my blog at Grains and Small Places. So let's get started. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I make the best ever pizza dough. You can make this with water, milk, or beer. Today I'm going to make it with water, but we have made it with the beer before, and it is really good. But not everybody's a beer person. So I just got done making dough for a eggless sandwich bread. I can put a link in the description below for that video and maybe a card up here somewhere. So I figured while we were in the kitchen anyway, I would go ahead and get some pizza dough going because I love to have that on hand so that I can use it for the future use. I like to make it, put it in my refrigerator or freezer. That way I always have fresh pizza dough ready to go whenever my family wants it. I'm heating up in here in the microwave the water so it'll be nice and warm for our yeast. Okay, so I have my warm to the touch water. It's 1.5 cups, and I will post the recipe down in the link below for you. That way you can print it off so you don't have to write everything down while you're trying to listen. 1 tablespoon of sugar. I just have this raw cane sugar. You could use honey or whatever sweetener you want. We've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil. 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And I'm just going to let those mix up a little bit while I clean up. Okay, and then we have a fresh milled flour that we've got here. I went ahead and milled 1 3/4 cup of hard white wheat and 3/4 cup of kamut. I'll have the weights and everything in the printable recipe for you. You could use all hard white wheat you definitely want a hard wheat in here so it will develop gluten, but you could use a mix of different ones or hard red, whichever you prefer. That's just the mix that we like to have. And I'm going to go ahead and mix that in. Now I know that this recipe works with these amounts, so if you want to save a little bit of flour, that way you don't put too much in, or see if you need any more. I just know that this recipe works for me with this amount. I'm going to start mixing these in. And after all of these are incorporated, I'm going to go ahead and cover this for about 15 minutes to let all of the fresh milled flour start absorbing the liquid before I put in the yeast. So, well, I'll show you what it looks like when we come back from the 15-minute break. Okay, now that has sat, we're going to do 2 teaspoons of yeast. I'm going to set this aside so I can reuse it. I'm going to just get this started. I'm going to mix that all in until the yeast is all mixed throughout, and then I will start the kneading process. And I'm going to knead this until it reaches a window pane test. I can put a link here to show you. I made a really short video on a good window pane test and a bad window pane test. So I'm going to go ahead and knead this until I get a positive window pane test. Okay, and we're about at the 20-21 minute mark here of kneading. As you can see, this pizza dough is really stretchy, still kind of sticky, which is fine. But we can get our window pane test here. It's very thin. So what I'm going to do is divide this in half. Just going to put this here real quick and put the dough out so I can move this out of the way for you. Okay, so if I wanted to make pizza tonight, I would go ahead and let this rise in the bowl for an hour. Then I would divide it. Okay, so we have some boondocking coming up, so I really want to have some of this pizza dough ready to go. That way I can not have to worry about making anything with fresh milled flour while we have a couple travel days in a row. And these will be ready to go so I can make the pizza. So I'm going to take this dough, cut it in half, and I'll put it in some Ziploc bags. I've been looking into the reusable Ziploc bags. Let me know in the comments down below if you think those work good for freezer and if they're easy to clean out or not. I wasn't sure, so I'd love to hear from people that are used to using those, because I would love to switch over to those and not have to use Ziploc bags. But I'm going to spray the inside of my Ziploc bag with some oil so my pizza dough doesn't stick to it, and then I'm going to pop these in the refrigerator, and that way they'll be ready to go when we want to go to bake them. I guess I should have sprayed that first. Let's put that in my first bag. Put this in my second bag, and I do like to keep my pizza dough pretty wet because I like a nice stretchy soft dough. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out. And I will just mark on here that this is pizza dough and it'll be ready to go, and I'll show you what it looks like when I go to bake it. So I'll be back in probably a couple days to show you this pizza dough. And sometimes I will reuse these bags, but they're only reusable so many times. And this also freezes really well too, so you can pop these in the freezer and always have pizza dough ready to go. You just need to thaw it out. And make sure that you push all of the air out of here because these will expand. And if I try to put this in one bag, actually I've had it rip through my bags before. And we don't want that to happen. So these will just rise slowly and nicely in my refrigerator overnight. This is probably good for about 3 days, and it will get that nice yeasty flavor, and it will be nice and stretchy and pliable and ready to use as soon as I need it. So I'll probably be back in a couple days to show you how I use this pizza dough. And while we were passing through Ellinger, Texas, one of our favorite little stops here is Hrushka's. And as you can see, this is where we first saw the kolaches, and which inspired me to make my kolaches and figure out how to make it with fresh milled flour. So I'm just going to give you a little peek on the inside here. It's just kind of a little gas station. It has a little eating area. They really have great food, but their highlight is the kolaches. So you can see they have every flavor you can think of. They have savory, they have sweet, all different fruits and chocolate. I'll put a link to my video up here. And this is what we picked up, and a little cinnamon roll and some kolaches with just assorted different flavors so that we could figure out which kind we want to make next. I'm going to use a little bit of this olive oil on my table first so it doesn't stick. And this is our pizza dough that we made together the other day. And I'm actually going to make 3 out of this because we stopped at Chick-fil-a for lunch today on our travel day, and we were inspired by their macaroni and cheese to make a special kind of pizza, a macaroni and cheese pizza. It's a good thing that we sprayed the bags out so the dough didn't stick all throughout the bag here. So I'm going to take about half of each one of these doughs so that I can make 3 pizzas. After I separate them, I'm going to let the dough sit for about 10 to 15 minutes since I redivided them, and we were really hungry this evening, so I didn't get to let them sit as long as I would have liked to. And I like to mill a little bit of rice so I can have some rice flour. I just mill some up and keep it in a little mason jar. I sprinkle that on my parchment paper to help prevent anything from sticking. You could use this or cornmeal, or even just spray the paper with oil if you prefer. Now I'm just going to smash and flatten the dough into the desired shape and size that we want. This recipe makes about 3 12-inch pizzas or about 2 15-inch pizzas with a really thin crust, which is how we prefer it. And I'm going to make sure to preheat my oven and get it good and hot. I'm going to preheat mine to 480 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the highest my little oven here can go. If yours can go to 500, you could do it at 500. So for the mac and cheese pizza, I'm not going to use a traditional pizza sauce. We decided to use a little olive oil and some garlic salt as the sauce instead. After that, then we put some freshly shredded mozzarella cheese on top of that with our Chick-fil-a macaroni then next. And we added a little more mozzarella cheese because why not? And we decided to bake these for about 8 minutes on the parchment paper. And then we pulled the parchment paper out about halfway through the baking and baked it another 8 minutes directly on our oven rack. And this just gave us the perfect crust that was crispy on the bottom, but yet was still very foldable like that New York style pizza, you remember. And this might be one of our new favorite pizzas. We have since made it again with just regular macaroni, not the Chick-fil-a macaroni, but it was still really good. For the other pizzas, I'm going to use regular pizza sauce, and then I'm going to use more of this mozzarella cheese. I really like to shred my mozzarella cheese in bulk, so I'll buy a big block of it, and we'll shred it. We can use our mixer or do it by hand, but my mixer does it pretty quickly for me. So I put that in a freezer safe bag, and we'll put that in the freezer. That way it's ready to go and use it whenever we want it. You can use as much or as little sauce and cheese as you wish. And this other one's going to be just a classic cheese pizza, but half of it was just light on the pepperoni. And the next one, I'm going to just use all pepperoni and banana peppers. And if I had pineapple, there would be pineapple on there as well. I'm sorry for anyone who disagrees, but I'm on Team Pineapple. Having this little foldable pizza peel has been a great addition for pizza night. We definitely burn ourselves much less with it. I can link it below. It was actually pretty cheap. And we did the same for the rest of the pizzas. We baked them halfway on the parchment paper, took the parchment paper off, and baked them the rest of the way directly on the oven rack. And so they baked for a total probably of about 15 to 18 minutes. And as you can see, the crust is still really foldable and soft, full of beautiful air bubbles, but crispy on the bottom. This was the perfect pizza dough. And now I'm just finishing off that last one, adding the banana peppers to the top. And of course you can use whatever toppings that you or your family likes. That's kind of what I love about pizza night, is everybody can choose their favorite toppings, and it's just customizable to each individual person. I also like to make frozen pizzas so that my kids can have some on hand. So what I will go ahead and do is make the dough and par bake it, and then just start the pizza with the sauce and the cheese and put it in my freezer. I'll wrap it in foil and then in saran wrap, and I'll just write right on the top the cooking instructions so that they have that and they can make that whenever they're at home. I will probably always make sure that I have some of this pizza dough on hand, whether it be in my refrigerator or in my freezer, because you never know when you have a hankering for some pizza nights. And I always want to have some on hand. I hope you enjoyed this pizza dough recipe, and don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my blog at grainsinsmallplaces.net, where you can find this recipe and a whole bunch of other recipes all fresh milled wheat. So thank you for stopping by Grains in Small Places. Goodbye.